Below our feet, there is the world's largest underground city, which made the history books rewritten.
Beneath the soft volcanic plains of Cappadocia, a forgotten city waited in silence until a broken basement wall revealed a world built for endurance, not escape. As archaeologists descended deeper, the question shifted from who lived there to what drove an entire civilization underground. The accidental discovery beneath a home. In 1963, a resident in the Turkish region of Cappadocia began renovating his house, expecting nothing more than extra storage space beneath the floor. When a wall in his basement collapsed, however, it opened into a dark chamber that did not appear on any map, and curiosity pushed him to step inside, with only a small light guiding his way. Behind that chamber lay another room, and beyond it stretched a narrow passage that sloped downward into the earth, growing colder and quieter with every step. What began as a simple household repair quickly became one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. When experts arrived, they realized the tunnels did not end after a few rooms, but descended through layer after layer of carved volcanic rock. Survey teams eventually mapped an enormous subterranean complex reaching nearly 85 meters deep, containing living quarters, storage spaces, and carefully planned corridors that suggested deliberate engineering rather than natural caves. The scale alone challenged assumptions about ancient societies in central Anatolia, since this was not a hidden shelter or a forgotten tomb, but a functioning city designed to support thousands of people below the surface. As archaeologists traced the pathways deeper into the structure, excitement turned into a growing sense of unease, because every new chamber suggested long-term habitation rather than temporary refuge. The discovery raised a question that still drives research today, and it is the question that guides the rest of this story. What kind of fear or necessity could convince an entire community to build a world beneath the earth instead of living under the open sky? A city designed for endurance, not hiding. As archaeologists mapped Derinkuyu, it became clear this was not a shelter used only during emergencies. The city included family living quarters, communal kitchens, storage rooms for grain and oil, schools, and places of worship, all carved into volcanic rock. Animal stables occupied upper levels, while deeper floors focused on human life, showing a layered design that balanced practicality with protection. The scale and organization suggest coordinated planning and a shared belief that life underground was not just possible, but necessary. Derinkuyu's layout was designed for continuity rather than short-term refuge. Deeper levels became more controlled and secure, with narrow corridors and carefully positioned chambers supporting airflow and stability. Archaeologists estimate the city could house up to 20,000 people, along with livestock and supplies, allowing long-term survival without returning to the surface. Such preparation goes far beyond typical wartime hiding places, which rarely include schools or systems for daily routine. As researchers examined the design, the idea of a simple defensive shelter felt incomplete, and the city began to resemble an alternative world built to sustain life when conditions above were no longer safe. Engineering the impossible in solid rock. The deeper researchers studied Derinkuyu, the more they realized its greatest mystery was not only why it existed, but how it was built. The city was carved into volcanic tuff, a rock soft enough to shape yet strong enough to support massive underground spaces. Even with this advantage, excavating millions of cubic feet of stone using bronze or iron tools required extraordinary labor, precision, and a sophisticated understanding of structural balance, since a single mistake could have caused catastrophic collapse. Its ventilation system shows remarkable engineering, with vertical shafts carrying fresh air deep underground through natural airflow, allowing thousands to survive in enclosed spaces. Deep wells tapped protected aquifers, often accessible only from inside, ensuring clean water during sieges or crises. Archaeologists remain puzzled by the missing excavation debris, as no large spoil piles exist nearby, suggesting careful dispersal or reuse over generations. Imagining workers carving by oil lamp highlights the human effort behind the achievement. revealing a project built across lifetimes. The engineering reflects not only technical skill, but deliberate preparation, suggesting the builders were creating a secure world designed to endure danger rather than merely escape it. Defense in depth, the architecture of fear. If Derinkuyu's engineering shows intelligence, its defenses reveal a population expecting prolonged danger. Massive circular stone doors, weighing hundreds of kilograms, were placed at key junctions and could be rolled shut from inside, sealing entire sections. Once closed, they turned narrow corridors into choke points where a few defenders could resist larger groups. The tunnels twist and narrow unpredictably, forcing outsiders to move slowly while residents familiar with the layout could retreat deeper into safety. This layered system reflects what military historians call defense in depth, allowing people to abandon upper levels while securing themselves below. The city could be divided into independent zones with access to air and water, showing deliberate long-term planning rather than panic. Small openings in the doors likely served as peepholes or communication points, enabling residents to assess threats without direct exposure. Yet, the scale of these defenses raises a deeper question, because ordinary raiders would rarely pursue people into such confined spaces. The architecture suggests a threat persistent enough to justify living underground, leading researchers to consider whether the danger above was not only human, but possibly environmental, reshaping how Derinkuyu is understood today. The turning point, when the surface became dangerous. The most compelling shift in how scholars interpret Derinkuyu came when archaeologists and geologists began looking beyond warfare and toward the environment itself. Cappadocia sits within a region shaped by powerful volcanic activity, particularly from Mount Erciyes and nearby ancient volcanoes that once covered the landscape in thick layers of ash, creating the very tough rock the city was carved from. Modern geological studies show that large eruptions in such systems can send ash high into the atmosphere, darkening skies, contaminating water supplies, and collapsing agriculture for extended periods. When viewed through that lens, an underground city with protected wells, stable temperatures, and controlled airflow begins to look less like a defensive fortress and more like a survival strategy designed for prolonged environmental crisis. This interpretation does not claim that one specific eruption forced people underground, since direct evidence linking Derinkuyu to a single catastrophic event remains uncertain, but it offers a plausible framework that aligns with the engineering choices found inside the city. Underground temperatures remain remarkably stable year-round, hovering around 15 degrees Celsius, which would have preserved food supplies while shielding inhabitants from heat, cold, or ash-filled air. The sealed stone doors, once interpreted only as protection from invaders, could also have helped isolate living spaces from dust or toxic conditions above, while deep wells ensured access to clean water, even if surface sources were compromised. Geological reality and architectural design begin to reinforce each other, suggesting that the builders were preparing for dangers that extended beyond human conflict. As this possibility gained attention, Derinkuyu transformed in the public imagination from a mysterious hiding place into something more profound, a deliberate adaptation to a world that may have periodically turned hostile. And understanding that shift leads naturally to the question of how daily life continued in a city built to outlast catastrophe. Life in the shadows, the human side of survival. While Derinkuyu's engineering explains how people survived, its daily life reveals how they preserved humanity underground. Communal kitchens with large ovens and soot-darkened ceilings show that meals were prepared collectively, while ventilation shafts carried smoke away to keep air breathable. Cool storage rooms preserved grain, wine, and oil for long periods, and livestock housed on upper levels provided food, warmth, and labor without disrupting deeper living spaces. Sanitation systems reflect advanced planning, with waste pits placed away from wells and drainage channels, reducing contamination risks in crowded conditions. Archaeologists have identified areas likely used as schools, meeting halls, and chapels, suggesting that education, faith, and social order continued even during long isolation. Imagining children learning by lamplight or families gathering in carved stone chambers transforms the city from an engineering marvel into a living community shaped by resilience. Yet, underground life likely carried psychological strain, as generations endured silence and limited sunlight, relying on routine and shared belief to maintain stability. Evidence suggests survival here was not driven by fear alone, but by the deliberate creation of normal life in extraordinary circumstances, revealing how human adaptability allows civilizations to endure uncertainty. What Derinkuyu reveals about human survival. Despite decades of research, Derinkuyu still holds major mysteries, including who first carved its earliest chambers and what forces drove its expansion into a vast underground city. Some archaeologists credit the Phrygians, while others suggest earlier cultures laid the foundation. Without written records, researchers rely on architecture and geology, revealing a story not only of fear, but of careful long-term planning. The city challenges modern ideas of progress by showing that survival intelligence can rival technological innovation. Its builders mastered airflow, water security, and structural design to sustain thousands underground. Whether escaping conflict, environmental danger, or both, they created a parallel world built for endurance. Walking its corridors today inspires awe, reminding us that human history is shaped as much by adaptation and collective discipline as by conquest. Deep beneath Cappadocia, a civilization chose endurance over certainty, carving safety from stone when the world above felt unpredictable. Derinkuyu reminds us that survival is rarely about strength alone, but about foresight, cooperation, and adaptation, and perhaps the courage to rebuild when the surface no longer feels secure.